Hello, everyone, and welcome to the stream. We are back with the Rogue Scholars podcast.
Let's go. So
Surprise!
early.
Yeah, I know.
Like early in the year, not early in the morning. But
You,
yeah.
you were expecting probably this next podcast to be in 2025, but we got
God.
together, we played a game, and we
We
thought
played
we'd talk
something.
about it. So that's Pray for the Gods, which I keep saying Pray to the Gods, which is very different, right? Um,
Yeah, I get yeah. So dude, pray for my fucking sanity playing that game. But anyway. Sorry, we'll get
Jesus,
into it.
you go right into it.
so as you can see, there's mixed opinions on the game. It was definitely a game. Um, so let's talk about it. I guess we should probably kind of divide it into a
Yeah.
few things, right? So how should we kind of lay this out? Because we did no preparation on this. This was kind of
Yeah, so
just
here's the thing.
impressions,
The
right?
three main categories at a minimum are the story, the atmosphere and the graphics, and then the gameplay. I don't know what the fuck
That's
happened in the story. I
four.
didn't watch a single cutscene. So if we're gonna talk about that, I'll comment on what I think about it after you guys tell me what happened.
Okay.
If we're gonna do it that way, break it down that way. I'm open to suggestions though, just to be clear.
I
It's
mean,
funny is that I think we have like layers of understanding because I watched it and I still don't really understand. I'm like, okay, I can tell you like what happened, but I haven't really even thought about piecing them together. So Wombat's probably gonna be the one that's gonna drop huge lore on us, and we're gonna be like, oh, and I'm gonna be like, oh, that connects this and this, and you're gonna be like, I still don't fucking get it. That's gonna be you, Kirby. You're gonna be like, I still don't get it.
Yeah, let me ask one bit. Were we the bad guy again? By again, I mean sorry. Spoiler alert for Shadow of the Colossus. But were we the bad guy again?
hi Ori, welcome in. Yeah, you had to get all the hot gas all distributed all over this frozen lands, right?
God no.
Um, so there's a few things to kind of unpack. First of all, apparently we are not the first person to travel to these lands, as you probably noticed by some of the notes that you picked up that were like at the very
Yeah,
start of the
but we're
game.
actually Gorm though. Can we just make sure that we know that we are
So
Gorm,
Gorm
despite what he?
is one of those people.
Gorm is
He's
us.
he's actually there's a ghost of a person that
Yeah.
leaves notes, and there's 9 notes that are Gorm's notes. So you find 9 instances of Gorm on the map. He's like this glowy blue figure. So that's who
I
Gorm
bet he
is.
is.
I
Um,
bet.
but yeah. So basically, people have come in the past. Um, Defeated these colossi before and then reset the world. So all the all the chicks that are
Did
out
really?
all the chicks that are outside of the shrine area, those are other instances of people like us who have reset the frozen lands time and time again.
Does that include the little ghost wraithy people that attack you? The little
Yeah,
pink ones?
that's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah,
So the ones that are still like coming back to life are ones that are not fully frozen yet, I guess, or whatever.
Did you gather that from some of the notes and stuff?
Yes, a lot on the notes, but also the ladies, the three um coffins underneath, kind of talk about it a little bit too.
yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Um, that being said, it seems like every time you defeat the colossi, you kind of allow these glowy kids to be more and more, and let us know if the sound levels are okay, folks. More and more shown, right? Until there's this giant child that we have to protect from the colossi that want to kill it. And then at the end, there's a scene where it's the portal from into the desert and a figure walks out, but it's not us. So I
Yeah.
assume it's the child or something. I don't know. I don't know who that is or what it is. There's no explanation. As Trell thought, as I thought, I think it's a setup for a second game that they might
Okay.
develop at some point. Um, but where we might learn about that person, or it might just be us as that person exploring, just like we did with Gorm. Uh,
Yes. Thank you.
But yeah, most of the notes were basically just as confused as we were in terms of like, why is this like this? Why, like asking the questions, or hints at some of the bosses, or just world building in general. So,
Yep.
um, So yeah, the story was, basic, basic fare. It wasn't anything spectacular, new or
Sure.
interesting, but it was there.
Why did we turn to a ghost woman at the end? A ghost Gorm or a zombie Gorm, maybe is more accurate.
I think in the end, the cycle, we were misled that we were solving the cycle, and instead we're just
Okay.
perpetuating it.
Typical cycles. They
So
do be like
everyone
that.
everyone beats the Colossi then.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it's like a coming
Okay.
coming of age to maintain whatever that transportation trick thing is.
All
So
right.
Weird.
Okay. I guess I don't have many comments on the story. I didn't pay attention to it. I sure as shit didn't understand it even when I watched Trell play it.
I mean,
But
honestly, it doesn't need a story, right? Like we're
it
there to
doesn't.
destroy the big things and win, right? So
Yeah.
I like that it was not needed to be interacted with to still play the
Yes.
game. I'm not going to say enjoy because that's being presumptuous for Kirby, but
You
yeah,
guys enjoy it. That's fine.
yeah. So yeah,
He
that's the
likes it.
storyline. So what were your other three categories? Since you said that it goes on three
At the
categories and
very
then
least, I
labeled
think
four.
you can discuss the atmosphere and just the sort of graphic physics in general. Then I think the gameplay, at least those three, should be discussed. If there's other, if you want to break it down to sub things, or if I'm missing something, then sure. I
let's
don't think the game. Yeah, go ahead.
let's do physics first.
I like the snow.
Well, isn't that atmosphere?
Oh, okay. I was lumping atmosphere and physics into one, but we can keep it separate then. The physics were fucking dog shit. If we're talking about just physics,
Yep.
you can clip through anything you fucking want.
Yeah, there was a lot of clipping into the either the things you're climbing, the Colossi themselves, or the like mountains or whatever. There's a lot of that.
I
Like,
didn't have a lot of clipping mostly through the game. There was like one or two instances, and that neither of them were actually on stream. My whole playthrough on
okay,
stream didn't have any clipping issues. It was only until I started collecting achievements that I'd missed that I started finding the holes in the walls, literally.
okay.
So I don't know if that's maybe a running thing. Maybe the like the game when it's not running as well starts like ejecting physics and then you fall through. I don't know.
Maybe I just like there were numerous times where I was trying to climb something and I would climb into something instead of
Yeah.
on top of it, and I
Yeah.
would fall through the floor, or the hang glider would sometimes just. I swear to God, it would get extra gravity, and I would get yanked down faster for no reason. So that was annoying.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, well, so what we'll do last is we'll talk about the comparison between Shadows and Prey. I think that's a
Yeah,
good call
that I
out.
was definitely gonna do that in the gameplay section, but we can
Hmm.
do that in the design part too. Actually, when we're talking about
I
atmosphere
figured
and
I
graphics, or
figured
whatever. Yeah.
gameplay. Yeah, we'll figure it
Either
out.
way,
But
yeah.
Trell, I know you had some issues with Jank, right?
Oh man, yeah. Like I think I I don't think that it was. I guess this is more like design than anything. And then my biggest beef was probably the last one, and it's probably on me. Just like
It's not on you. Don't let the game gaslight you.
but like I feel like and maybe it wasn't necessarily only the last boss, but I felt like a couple of the bosses it wasn't intuitive of like where you had to go, what you had to
Yes.
do, and it like a shadow. And I'll try not to like compare yet, but like it led you better to water than what Pray for the Gods did. And it might just be also I was just stream brain. I think sometimes when you're streaming, at least for me, like you
Yeah.
get distracted easily because you're talking, you're memeing or whatever. And when I'm playing games like single player off stream or something like that, like Tears of the Kingdom, I'm way more focused and paying attention. So maybe like I was missing the cues of like, oh, you need to be going over here and looking for this thing or something like that. But I think that it did miss a couple times for me at least, and it was just like, what the heck am I supposed to do here or something? And then I was kind of left wandering. And then when you're in a game like that, when you're left wandering, but there's no real apparent threat other than you're losing stamina, it was kind of like a bit of a slog. Sometimes you're like, come on, let's just give me the thing because I've already climbed all over you. But
Hmm.
that was
Hmm.
my beef.
Yep. Going to a point you were saying there, like in a game like this, when you're lost, and this is not, Shadow of the Colossus was not immune to this either, but going then into the world
Absolutely.
design and the atmosphere, it was just all fucking snowy mountains. There was nothing else. Oh, okay, I lied. The last boss had a bit of a lava area, but it was all snowy mountains. There was nothing, in my opinion, and this is mostly what I'm going to refer to Wombat and to you to a lesser extent, Trell. There was nothing fun to explore. There were upgrades, but I'm going to wait. Actually, I'm going to hold the upgrades for the gameplay part. The world just wasn't interesting to explore. There weren't different areas. In Shadow of the Colossus, yes, it was mostly open fields, but there was the sandy desert area. You could go down to like the Gladiator Coliseum. There was the cool Oasis area and whatnot. There was the lake. This game was all snow. And if you just dropped me somewhere in the world, I would have no idea where I am. Oasis. But yeah, so, and beyond that, there wasn't really anything interesting for me to find out there. So, I don't know. I really did not like the world design very much, in my opinion.
I was okay with it. Because it was definitely different from anything that you got in Shadow. That was so you never got full like Snow World in that, and I was okay with it. And then you had a couple of bosses that each boss was completely different. I really like that about Praey. And then you had the fire one at the end, and then you also had the air one, which seems very similar to like the one that you got in Shadow. But
Yeah.
so there a lot of the boss fights were different enough that I was like, okay, this is cool. It wasn't all just like playing upon the environment. The environment was mostly apparent to me when you were just getting to the boss. After that, it was like it didn't matter, in my opinion. It could have been just in any arena.
Okay. I agree. I mean, I agree that I don't know, just going to maybe it's because I just literally ran straight to the boss when I realized there wasn't anything I wanted to explore. But I don't know. I just felt like the way to the boss felt the same every single time. Like I would go through the snow, I would climb some mountains. Maybe I go into a cave if I'm lucky, and then I'm fighting a boss.
Oh yeah, the cave ones were pretty cool. Like
So
when you
ones
had
yeah,
were
a
kinda
puzzle or
sweet.
the
something.
cave
Yeah.
environment is what I was going to point out as the only difference between the snowy
Yeah,
tundra and
that's true.
something different. And the caves ended up being some of the most interesting gameplay, which we can
Yeah.
talk about. I found there's actually a surprising amount of puzzles in the game, so we can talk about that some. I did 100% the game
There are
aside from
puzzles. I didn't even know there were puzzles.
there's a lot of fire puzzles actually. So
All right, well, go ahead. You were saying, so I didn't mean to cut you off.
you're fine. Yeah, so I the only achievement I don't have right now is achievement locked by the amount of enemies that are on the map. And apparently some of the ones that I killed didn't count on the counter, so
So
I
it's bugged?
it's either bugged or I have to do a new playthrough and try again. I don't think there's any more of that type of enemy on the map, and there's no way to farm it. So,
Oh,
and
you
a
don't
second,
respawn?
no, they're not spawning. Yeah. Um,
Weird.
and a new playthrough doesn't add to that count. It starts the count over. So, I don't know, but I don't need to kill any of the Colossi. Maybe because I killed a boss or went out of order or something, it
Yeah.
affected things. And that's something I want to talk about too. But yeah, I think one thing that I like about the game is that they definitely had a conscious uh, idea of we want it to be like Shadow of the Colossus, but we don't want it to be Shadow of the Colossus, right? Like
I
they
agree.
tried to
They
make
played some things
decisions to
different.
make sure that there was a difference and that they weren't just making a clone. They tried to make it their own game, which I appreciate. There's still people drew the comparisons for sure, but they definitely tried to make it their own. That whole survival mechanic, I think, is part of that, right? Um, Matt says like Power World.
Power World. Power World. I don't know. Do you think? Okay, this is a sidebar. Is Power World, Jesus Christ, more different than Pokemon than this game is from Shadow of the Colossus? I want to say so, but I haven't played Power World, so who the fuck knows?
Oh yeah, it's way different.
Okay, that's why I wanted to say that, but I'm like, I don't know for sure. 'Cause
Is
I haven't played
Power
myself,
you're saying
so.
Power World is way different? Or is
Power
this
World's way
game
different than
okay?
Pokemon because
Got it.
Pokemon one is all turn-based combat and Power World's
Yes.
not.
Yeah.
And then Power World's an open world survival crafting game. Pokemon's never been open world. You can't even call Arceus an open world. And
Yeah,
then,
it's open area maybe, but not open world.
Is Arceus
Yeah.
also turn-based?
it's also turn-based.
Okay, interesting.
There's ways to kind of like get around that you don't have to really go into the same turn-based stuff. But
Yeah.
at the heart of it is turn-based.
So Power World's kind of like the new Final Fantasy mechanic where it's like open battle in an area, right? or is it just straight up battle?
I think so. Like from what I know of Final Fantasy, Kirby, you probably speak more to that, but I believe it's
Sure.
kind of this. And that's a pretty good comparison, I
Yeah,
think.
the newer Final Fantasy games, like you said, Wombat and Trail have all been more action oriented than traditional.
Right.
I mean, they still have RPG elements, but they're more action than strictly turn based.
I wonder if we should do a podcast on Power World.
Uh, I
Uh,
would. I'm not paying for it if I can
No,
try
no.
it for free.
I mean, just general thoughts on it.
Oh, yeah,
I
that's
think we've
fine.
kind of
Sure.
explored that mostly in
I'll have to watch more gameplay. I generally
Trell's
don't like to
Discord,
talk too
though.
much about games without playing it, only
Yeah,
because I feel like it's not
that's
fair to the
fair. Yeah,
game. But I'm
absolutely.
sure I could try something out. Or I
Yeah.
could watch gameplay enough. But yeah, I've
Yeah,
only
there's
really seen
enough
what Trell
discussion
played.
about it that I was curious, but I don't plan on playing it anytime soon, and Kirby doesn't, so yeah, maybe
If it goes
that's for the
free, I'll play
best.
it for like
Yeah,
an hour, but I'm not
yeah.
paying for it.
I
Gotta get
just
that
got too
Games
many
Pass,
games.
right,
I
Matt?
had Games Pass for a while, but I didn't use it enough. Not because it wasn't a good value, but okay, that's different discussion. Different discussion.
Yeah, anyway, back to Shadow of the Gods.
Shadow
Um,
of the Gods, I like it. So we were talking about bosses. Where the hell were we actually? Oh, we're just saying. Oh, we were talking about how
we
they
just
tried to make it different than Shadow of the Colossus, so it
mhm,
wasn't a strict rip-off or clone, right?
right. I thought
Okay.
the physics in general for like mechanics of climbing was a little bit still needing to be realized, and that's
Yes.
why things kept falling through and things like that. But me just trying to get over like a simple ledge sometimes was really difficult. I know both you and Trell had troubles with stamina. I didn't because I kept my stamina upgraded as much as I could. I upgraded that all the way first before health.
That makes
So
sense.
just like
Did
in
you ever die
Breath of
because
the
of health?
Wild.
Like I don't think did any of us die because of health. I think I fell off a cliff once.
I
Health
Oh
I
wasn't a
died a
concern
couple
like
times
ever.
with health.
Okay, just
Mainly,
curious.
but mainly I died when a boss one shot me by stomping. Right. So, which happened.
Same.
I know the Trell. I don't know if
Yeah,
that
no,
happened to you,
I got
Curbs.
killed a couple times from bosses, or I think when I was fighting the mini boss, the cold got me, which I
Mm,
thought was it was an interesting concept. I think that maybe execution needed to be cleaned up a little bit because it was just sometimes unfair. It felt like if I was in the middle of a boss fight, and boss fights can take a good like 20 minutes or something like that because you're
That's
climbing all
right.
over these
Let me
things.
go pull up my boss time stats.
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh
Thank you
yeah.
for
Did you actually
saying
track
that.
that?
It's in the game.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Thank you. Yeah, yeah. You actually bring that up because like 'cause it's a good long chunk of time that you're putting into because you got to like get over to do whatever the thing to bait it to
Yeah.
climb it, and then you got to go ding the dong 3 times or whatever, and then it's like there you've beat the boss, but all that together takes about like I don't know 20 to 30 minutes easily, and then
Yeah.
during that you get like a cold snap where the wind's blowing in and your health just like decreasing. You're like that's kind of unfair. Like what am I supposed to do? I can't. You want me to go like start a bonfire right here on the boss or something? It's like that
Right.
sucks. So I thought that was a bit
Mhm.
unfair, but
Yeah.
it was an interesting concept. They were like, I like the fact that you guys said that it wasn't trying. It was obviously it's Shadow of the Colossus inspired, and it was always
Yes.
ever going to get compared to it, and they realized that. But they did try to make it their own. They tried to put in like a couple of new mechanics, like the cold stuff and like survival crafting, and more exploration things in the world, not like an empty world like in Shadow and stuff. And it's things that you would expect, I think, of a modern day game. Like if you re-released what Shadow did now, it would have got blasted. It'd be like, okay, that's like more of a trailer or a beta game rather than anything like ready for live production in 2024. So
Right.
I commend them for doing that. It probably just needs some cleaning up and stuff like that. And if we're still on like the physics part of that
Yeah.
itself,
Sure.
um like just looking at videos of Shadow compared to like what I just experienced on Prey, like Shadow I feel like was a bit more polished where like watching the people when they're uh like letting go of the hair, maybe sprinting across him and then like re-grabbing and stuff like that, it just all seemed to be a bit cleaner. They even like did some parts where you could like easily jump and from like an arm to like the body or something like that, and it all just felt a bit more intuitive, cleaner. So I don't know if they just got like their physics part down better or something, but I know
Yep.
that we all kind of were a bit on the struggle bus, or at least you and I were. Kirby, I'll speak for you and I at least, but on the struggle bus of just trying to like navigate around those guys.
Dude. Yes.
I'd be up for what they did. I would be up for seeing more of it in their like apparent, you know,
Sequel.
sequel that they've kind of like were teasing at
Right.
the end there, but it definitely left some to be desired for sure.
Trying to get my stats screenshotted.
Yeah, I already uninstalled the game. Luckily, I have a stat screenshot from earlier. I'm gonna have to use because I'm not reinstalling that shit. But I do have it. We can wait till we talk about stuff later if we want. It doesn't really
Yeah.
matter. But
I'll just post them in our Discord for now. So yeah, I thought I had it uninstalled too, but I realized I'm still trying to get those enemies since I have one, one left. Might as well. So like for example, I think some of it also is how you utilize the mechanics, right? There's
Yep.
and there's a lot of times where there's games that like if they don't utilize the mechanics enough, then you don't end up using them, and then you find it unfun. But they had the solution in there, but you didn't use it because it wasn't really either telegraphed enough, or it wasn't utilized enough as a mechanic, right? I really enjoyed being able to glide around with the parasail, and I really like that you could use the grapple hook mid-air. I ended up
That was
using the
huge.
grapple
The
hook
grapple
a
was so
lot,
good.
and I think that's the biggest difference between one game and the other is that grapple hook was a game changer. I did wish that you could grapple on a few more things, like none of the ice you could grapple.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
like it
yeah,
makes
agreed.
sense. They needed to have a texture that was recognizable as grappling, which is just
Yep.
rock, and then a texture that wasn't. And then you couldn't grapple the bosses except for those target points.
Yep.
So at the end of the day, I thought that they did that well, and I really appreciated that mechanic. I think without that, I probably would have had less fun with the game. But because of the grapple, I just grappled the fuck everywhere. It was great.
Yep. I agree. The
Um,
grapple was fantastic. That was one. That was probably the biggest change from SOCC that I like, actually liked. The other changes I did not like as much.
the
So.
parasail was something that was added to the remake of Shadow of the Colossus, but it wasn't in the original, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Actually, I think that's correct, but I don't know for sure 'cause I never did play the original. But I think that's correct.
So, Trell, we were just calling out the grapple hook being the best thing in the game.
It was though.
Yeah, that man, that's a really I forgot about that for a hot minute. That was honestly super great to put that in there because
Yup.
maybe even like to combat some of like the cleanness that you had between Shadow and Prey, like I was just talking about, like how it felt like he was just able to kind of like let go and re-grab easier in Shadow. The hook just made it way more appealing to just even navigate those guys, and it was also just like faster. Like I think if anyone plays Shadow multiple times, I haven't. I've only done it the once, but I'm sure that if you do it multiple times, because I've started to get the feeling through multiple bosses of Prey and probably in Shadow as well. But when you're there again, you're like, okay, here we go again. I got to go climb all through this guy, and there's a lot of waiting in those type of games. And I think I complained about that in Prey. I was like, God, there's so much goddamn waiting in this, and it's like you're just kind of like, all right, I know where I need to go. I got to go to get over there, but now it's gonna take me a good 2 minutes to sit there and just hold the stick and get over there, or you got to tap B to like get through the shaking part, and you're like, just get me through it. But that
Yeah.
hook really came in clutch because you were just able to be like,
So
okay, get me there
nice.
now, boom, and you're over there, and it's like even navigating to like get to the boss, it's like you just go through like peak to peak of like the little like mountainous areas or something. So
Yeah.
it was definitely good. It felt something like it was a of this age. Even like throw call outs to like um how you can navigate easily and traverse easy in like Tears of the Kingdom or something like that. It felt like that. It kind of just helped get it along faster because the gliding aspect was not good. I felt like that could have
Yup.
like been like give you more stamina or make it go faster or something
To be
like that.
fair, we didn't upgrade our
You didn't
stamina,
upgrade your
so I'm not
stamina.
going to
Gliding
complain
was
about
fine.
that. That's my own
That's
fault,
Except
but
but I feel like was the juice worth the squeeze?
it.
Like
no.
So you got a
like
good amount of stamina each time you got the three totems. So I think it was worth it to collect the
all right.
collectibles.
But
But
look, think of how much more time I would have had to spend with the game. I think the game took
That's what
me.
I'm saying.
What did
so
my stat sheet say? I don't fucking know. What does Steam say? 4 hours? Yes.
and I can look at
I don't know. I
Twitch.
just don't know if I wanted to put in the time because I put in the time. I was like, I'll try it. Let me try this stuff, and I fought that boss, that mini boss or whatever. and that was absolutely not worth it.
Mini bosses don't have totems now. Yeah, so the mini bosses were just and they respawn. Unlike other
Yes,
enemies,
Oh,
they
that's why I was.
respawn because they're giving you like the top tier items, like the better grapple,
well, you
sometimes the
do that here.
better arrow or bow and arrow, things like that.
The
So
grapple, you don't
those,
even need the top tier grapple though. Like the one you have, you
yeah,
get
the
a
top
starting
tier
one.
grapple
That's
just lasts longer and has
yeah.
a little bit of a longer range. So,
Yeah. See, like I picked the wrong thing to invest in first then, because after that I was like, well, there's no point. I'm just going to just steamroll this game then.
Yup.
But
yeah, it took me
um,
about 9 hours to play. Looks
Yeah,
like.
see, double the time. I mean, look, you had fun with the exploring and lore and whatnot, but for me, I would not want to spend double the amount of time to get more stamina.
The only reason I
yeah,
had fun exploring is because I really liked the puzzles. So there, and we can talk about that. But
That's fair, 'cause I didn't even know they had any.
my least favorite part about the game was the wind. So if that you have a mechanic for gliding, at least have a telegraph as to where the wind is, and don't have the wind change like that.
That's
Like
a good point. That's what, okay. 'Cause when I said the
really good point.
paraglider was just not working, it must have been the wind, and I
it
didn't
was
even
the
know it was a
wind,
thing.
so that you could see the streaks in the air.
Yeah.
Oftentimes you'd find that when you're going long distances and there's a storm, which happened a lot, the storm would be against you. And then when you change to go to a different direction to follow the storm would change again and it would be against you again. It was
Yep.
almost like when you're sitting around a campfire and the smoke keeps going in your face. So you move and then it
Yes.
goes in your face again. It was like that, but
Yeah,
in terms of
good analogy.
trying to glide.
I like
So
it.
and I can't say I like rabbits enough in order to get that win to go my way. Um, it was just yeah, that I think that was the most annoying for me. And I mean, like, it didn't happen when it mattered, like when you were doing the bird boss and you needed to glide some, or the not the bird boss, but the flying
The
snake,
serpent,
the
yeah,
circle
okay, the
dragon.
serpent one, yes.
It didn't really blow then, which is good. I appreciated that. But it did in other areas where I could have used gliding to my advantage. And of course, there was
Yup.
a couple bosses in caves, so like there was no wind. But like you see what I'm saying?
God, yeah, that
Yeah,
was a really good point. I think I liked that they put wind in there. I liked that they put cold in there. I think they are interesting things to maybe invest more in. I don't know if they just the execution maybe just fell a little bit flat because yeah, it was um the cold only ever was working against you. It never really like added more depth to the game. It was just kind of like oh, you're already in the middle of a boss fight and now you're also suffering
Oh,
cold.
you're
You're like,
so cold, and your three
okay.
second fires.
Yeah, and the way to get out of it, yeah, it's just to light a fire, and all of a sudden, it's like it burns out in three
Yup.
seconds. You're like, well, I'm gonna have to like sit through 3 fires to get full up cold resistance
Did
again. I was
did
like,
you ever
that's
find the permanent fires that you could light and just sit at?
No.
there's permanent
Yeah,
fires.
and you can
Oh,
cook
you mean
at
the ones that are
them.
already lit? Like,
No, no, they're not already lit. They're like campfires with actual like prongs on them, and you can actually cook things in the fire. And instead of burnt meat, it's cooked meat, and it's a
is
better
that
heal for
the
you.
is that the like you had to figure out the recipe to craft it or
No,
something,
you
or
you don't craft it. You find it around the map. They were mainly in caves, but they were in some areas too. There's
interesting?
usually a
No,
bedroll next to them. So, like for example, the seventh boss, off to the side as you're approaching him, there's a campfire there with a sleep roll next to it, where you
Yeah, I
could
had no idea about
light
those.
that. So it's like a stone circle with the prongs, and you can light fires in there using a piece of wood, and you can sit there as long as you want to warm up, and it won't go out. Um, and you can sleep next to it so that you can So what I noticed with you, Charles, you'd sleep, but you're sleeping in the cold, so you lose heat while you're sleeping. You need to sleep next to a fire at one of those permanent ones,
oh,
and you'll be okay.
that
Yeah,
makes sense. I mean, that only ever really mattered, I guess, if you were gonna play on hard or legendary or whatever they called it, right?
yeah.
In the
Yep.
modes that we were on, like in normal, just like I always consider normal to be this is the way that it developer intended you to play it. I guess the way they intended you to play it, it didn't matter in the most thing. It was always just going to be like a negative thing that maybe just randomly. It was just an element of RNG in the boss fight,
Hmm.
essentially the cold and the wind, which kind of sucks because it's just like But so I wish
Yup.
that they kind of worked for you a little bit because I always felt like they were working against me. I never felt like to your point, like
Yeah,
I would say
it's
the
not supposed
paraglider.
to work for you, right? Like it's a survival mechanic where it's constantly ebbing at your lifehood, and you have to kind of fight to get that back. Which
Try to make it
I
more
didn't
realistic.
really, yeah, it's more realistic, but I don't necessarily think that it was more enjoyable because of it. Um,
Yeah.
and so that's why they had the mechanic be something that you could choose to interact with how you wanted, whether you wanted to go into story mode or um welcome in. You just lost the game. Thank you for being here. Cheese is just a loaf of milk. Interesting. Yeah, I like that. So, and we do have loaves in the game. They were bread and things like that. So it applies. um, but yeah, I didn't exactly enjoy the survival mechanic, but I mean, I just consumed as much as I could. I found my pockets full pretty much all the time, even with the upgraded bag, which you both probably didn't even know there was an upgraded bag.
No,
You
I
could
knew
get
there
more slots
was.
when
I,
you get ingredients from slaying creatures like animals. You get hide and horn and all that stuff. You can use that to upgrade your equipment and make you less susceptible to cold or
okay.
more tough, so that when things attack you, it doesn't hurt as much, or faster through the snow. So there was like mechanics in that way that you could upgrade, and I chose to interact with that quite a bit, and that definitely helped. So I think that's another thing that they could have. I think this game, if it had at least one other character that kind of did that kind of instruction for you, of instead of like, here's how you do this, you're like, okay, skip, and then you go about your merry way, and you're like, wait, how do I do
Yup.
that later? Or like you never introduce that mechanic again. It can be a little bit hard to relay that anymore. So maybe if there was like a person that you went to get your equipment upgraded, you'd be more inclined to upgrade it, right? Especially if, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, no, I mean that's just all. I mean, that's just comes down to design kind of
right.
thing, where like take uh that's kind of like you would think about this Wombat because you've done like a lot of design for like your levels in Mario Maker and stuff, but you got to kind of like teach those concepts to the player,
Yeah.
and then like here you like you put a jump in front of them, and you're like, how am I supposed to get over this obstacle? You're like, oh, you learn how to jump. Oh, okay, cool, I jumped, and then all of a sudden you like kind of chain things like that together. I thought that new game Guacamelee I'm playing did that really well, where it's like you all of a sudden are like figuring out you're tapping multiple buttons within like 5 minutes. You're like, oh, well, I'm so smart, I figured it out, but like there was no way to progress until you did it. So it's like kind of forced you to learn the design and stuff like that. So it's
Mm.
just good, clever design. And yeah, they probably just dropped you in there a bit, which to our point, I think I hear a lot in our like small community that we sometimes complain that like games don't teach us or don't treat us as like adults anymore or whatever. They're kind of like either
They fucking don't.
they're like super baby easy, or they're just on the other extreme where it's just like no, they're just gonna absolutely ream you. And I
This is
think this
hell.
one this one kind of like dropped you out there and was like go figure it out. So I think it gave
Yeah.
us what we wanted, but I think what it had a difficulty doing was tying in those things to actually make them matter. Because like I mean, Kirby and I went through there. I think I upgraded a couple things because I was trying to try it, but then when I was to me again, I'll say it like I don't think the juice was worth the squeeze. It was like
Yeah.
I can just get through this, and I don't have to sit there and quote unquote grind to get all
That's what I
those
mean. The
things.
actual process of upgrading was not that bad. You just go in your inventory, but getting the materials was like, oh brother, God,
Yeah,
get this out of
it
I
here.
felt
at
it felt
first I
tedious.
thought that too, and
You
then
did okay.
so I was like, because I thought most of it was gathering things from the crates, because the crates would drop like cloth or whatever, and then you could kind of, or cloth, rope, and sometimes feathers. I was like, wow, feathers are really rare. How am
Yeah.
I going to be able to upgrade my glider so that I can glide for longer and stuff like that, or be faster? And then I realized that there was birds, and I could just grapple or shoot them, and I'd get feathers. Like, oh, well, that makes a lot more sense. But like, I had to
I
figure
didn't
that
know
out.
that.
Yeah,
Well,
there's like four birds at the very start.
Huh.
At that first, how there's like this pillars going down. There's four birds on that first
oh,
pillar that you
mother
could just grind
trucker.
every time you reloaded from a boss, which was great. Yeah, they were crows to kill. They were black, so they were stark against the white background. So easy to see, and you could see them fly off. And if you got too
Yeah,
close, they
very
would
easy to
fly
see.
away. But they were small, so you if I just it took me a long time to realize that I could actually attack those things. That would be something that if there was like a mechanic where it's like Red Dead Redemption, where you like when you hunt things, like there's like an interactable category for hunting, right? Something
Yeah.
like that. Or like in Zelda, when you like collect the fish, they get added to your register or something like that, right? Something
Yep.
like that could like if there's creatures that you could kill and it shows the like a catalog, and since you have a journal already, maybe there's a journal entry of the creatures that we found in this area that we could eat. But again, that requires reading and interacting with that mechanic. So like again, like you can add as much as you want, but the player's going to play how they want, right?
Yep.
It's obvious. We
Right.
all three of us have very different playing styles. I try and milk a game for all it's worth. Look around every corner, and sometimes it's great. This game had some rewards in that way, and then with Shadow of the Colossus, exploring all that was great visually, but there was no
There's not
reward
shit.
for it, right?
They're like coins and apples.
Yeah, and the coins weren't necessarily hidden in places to explore. They were usually in like
Right.
um not great places, like places where like if you tried to exploit getting out of the map, you're like, oh, here's a thing for you instead of getting out of the map, right? It's
Yep.
like, I don't really like that. I like a little bit cleaner hides, but it's fine. I like Shadow of the Colossus a lot, by the way. And I think that it was fine that it was clear of a lot of things. The game could have benefited from more stuff in it, but I kind of like the style. I kind of like that they chose to keep it what they knew they wanted it to be. I think that's both brave and also sets it apart from a lot of games and why it's a legendary status game. Um, but I mean, we're always going to be like, well, how could it be better? Or what, right? Like, what could we
Sure.
do? What could they have done differently?
I thought it was also a limitation of the means, like
Yeah,
for it was at
creative,
capacity,
creative.
right?
What's the word? Creative solutions to complex problem. Yeah,
Yeah, like I don't think they could have Shadow they could have added anything else really to it without just surpassing what the limitations were for was it PS2, 3,
yeah.
Uh,
PS2?
PS2.
PS2 initially, then there's a PS3 remaster, then there's obviously the PS4 remake. So yeah.
Okay. And I only played the remake, and when I played the remake, I guess of a PS4 era game, it did feel very empty and stuff like that. But I went in knowing, hey, this was an older game, and they
Yep.
left it pretty much as is. So like you went in there and you're like, it was good, it was fun, and it left me wanting more. But there was also like the sense of like that emptiness that kind of like I don't know philosophically filled something for you. It was kind of like
Sure.
it was like oh man, it like just left you kind of like wanting more. It created a lore to the game or a feeling about the game, and you're just kind of like, dude, I don't know. Like you almost like felt bad for the Colossi sometimes when you killed them. So
I
I got that.
did.
I got a bit of that feeling when I did it in Prey too. It was kind of like, what am I doing this for? Is this? So again, we're always going to compare it to Shadow Prey, but I feel like that it had similar feelings of undertones or whatever when I was attacking the bosses, and it just kind of left me wondering like, what am I doing here? What's going on? And I still don't fully get the story, I guess, even though you kind of explained it earlier, Wombat, because you said that we were in Shadow, we were actually doing it. We were sacrificing all that just to save like loved ones. Was that the same then in
No, there was no
Prey?
loved one.
So what
Yeah.
was the two statues that we
No one
presented at the
loves
beginning?
Gorm.
No one was
Oh,
going.
I think that was a memorial for them, for loved ones or an offering, for the three. I don't really know.
That's okay.
They kind of say, oh, I see that you were worthy or whatnot. So it was obviously some sort of sacrifice or something.
But it's more just the coming of age element.
Maybe, yeah.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, but And I think now that it's already been done once, and then something to follow suit and be like, here's a second one to it, and then we probably aren't going to give the same pass like we did for, even though it got a remake on the PS4, Shadow did.
Mhm.
I just don't think that Prey was ever going to get that same pass. It was just going to be held to higher standards. Like, well, you're going to
Yeah.
come out and you're a brand new game, and we're going to expect more out of you. And I think it had a lot of stuff, and I honestly would be willing to play a sequel if that means anything. But it definitely fell flat in some parts. But also, yeah,
I think
the fact that I would want to play a sequel, I guess, to me at least, speaks volumes. Where I'm like, it was heading the right track. It just got some things wrong, but overall, not bad. Worthy of a playthrough at least once.
yeah, I think it's an opportunity to learn from and make the next game better.
Mhm.
And I'm glad that they made
Absolutely.
it. I'll always say making games is always better than not making them, right? Even if
Yeah.
it doesn't hit exactly how you wanted or accomplish exactly what the player wanted. Looking at Kirby. But like I'm glad that it was made
Mm.
and that there's more in the genre, and hopefully it opens it up to more developers even uh, making styles of game like this. Maybe not the Colossi thing, but like you know, boss rush type games in general, right? As a genre, yeah.
So there is a lot of boss rush like games out there, or that, I guess that would be a genre I would say that are out there. Probably not one of the biggest genres, because I wouldn't say Souls like is a boss rush.
I wouldn't either. Some games can be Souls, like Elder Souls, actually, since you just played a song from that, is a boss. Like, there's very little exploration. You pretty much just go boss to boss to boss.
Which
Okay.
game?
Eldest Souls.
Oh, okay.
It's a soul. It's definitely a Souls-like game where you, in the sense that you have souls. If you die, you have to go get them again. But there's almost no exploration. You pretty much just go boss to boss until you're done with the game.
Fury is probably one of the best boss
Fury
rush
is
games.
great. Titan Souls is also great. That's
Oh, is
people
that
also
boss
compare that.
rush?
Oh yeah, it is. People compare it to Shadow of the Colossus. Like, there's minimal
Ooh,
exploration, but there is some, and that's pretty fun too. So I
okay.
liked it.
Honestly, would you say that there's would Titan Souls be in the same category as Prey and Shadow?
Like in terms of like how the game feels to play, no, because you don't mount big creatures, haha. You don't the fighting the boss is not figuring out how to climb up on big creatures and get to their weak points. There's no real stamina. It's more figuring out the boss's patterns and then figuring out their weak point. Everything dies in one shot. The boss dies in one shot. You die in one shot. That being said, it's an asterisk for the bosses because you have to reveal their weak point, and that might take like 8 shots, and then they die when you hit it.
Oh, okay.
But it's not really a puzzle on how I'm gonna figure out how to get up on this dude. It's just more of a stereotypical boss fight. But they are bigger than you, and just because of the empty world makes it feel more like Shadow. But I almost don't think it's the same game. It's more of just a boss rush.
So then, I guess my follow-up question would be: do you think there already is, or should there be a subgenre of Colossus
Colossi
like
likes.
Colossi like? Would you guys want to play more games like that?
I feel like that's really hard. I mean, I'm not gonna say no, but when I think about how you innovate that, like you could make new Colossi. Obviously, you could add new. I mean, okay. The answer ultimately is yes, but I feel like it's harder to innovate on that than it is to innovate on other genres. And so I would have less confidence just picking up a colossal like blindly than I would a Souls like.
Right. I mean, what would tempt you to playing more Colossi like? I like
Okay,
that, by the way. We're gonna
I
coin
want.
that.
I don't know how you integrate this. I would love it if one of two things. If the exploration, if there were like secret bosses that you could find by
Ooh.
exploring, I would love secret bosses. I would love more like equipment upgrades. Whether it's, do you need a better sword? I don't know. I know Shadow of the Colossus remake kind of had this, so either finding a reason to explore with secret bosses and secret equipment or weapons or something, I think that would be sick. And then just having more unique mechanics in the bosses themselves, which I don't have anything off the top of my head. I'm like, oh yeah, I'd really like this kind of boss, you know. But I think those two things would compel me more, the most, I should say.
So first of all, I'll say that there were unique items in the game. There was a 3-star axe in Pray for the Gods that was
But why do I
in
want
one of the
it? Why do I
puzzles.
want it?
But also some awesome other equipment. But like there was more than one set of armor. There's like I think 4 or 5. So, but getting to the point of Charles' question, um, I would play them for sure. And again, yeah, you want them to have um, you want them to stand on their own. But also, what I would like to see is for games to be inspired by Colossi likes by having fights in their games like it. Like so, for example, think first thing that comes to mind, Horizon Zero Dawn. If the Horizon Zero Dawn series had a giant
Oh my
machine
God, yes,
where
dude,
you
that'd be
you
so good.
interacted with in that way, kind of like how you do with the tall necks, but like in a battle, that would be so freaking cool, right? And
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I've
that could
heard the
be.
Forbidden West DLC has a boss like that. I don't know anymore, and I won't say more,
I haven't
but
played that yet either,
that's
so
fair.
yeah,
I played the base game, but the DLC apparently has a couple, but especially the final boss of the DLC is very cool and has some mechanics like that. But I don't know what
interesting.
it's like yet. So
Gonna have to play that this year. I gotta beat both DLCs actually. The one for the base game, the
oh, the
first
base
game,
game
and
was
then the
really good.
second
I
one.
enjoyed
So
it.
I
The base game
interacted
DLC, I
with
mean.
the base game one, Zero Dawn's DLC some. I just never finished it because I moved on to other games.
Yep.
But definitely been thinking about going back to that and then getting the other one. So
That's that's interesting. And Mestro, you just brought up the other game that I was just about to mention because I was
Monster is
like,
so fucking good. Sorry.
if there's two games that you could probably that I would think off the top of my head, it would be Monster Hunter and God, you just said it. What is it? The Horizon.
Mm.
Those ones would be ones I would probably be like are quote unquote close to the Colossi like thing, but not quite there. But there'd be ones I would just probably grasp and say like you could find some comparisons stuff like that. But yeah, I think that because honestly, to me, Horizon was not like I wasn't impressed with Horizon as probably the rest of the world, and I
What would
don't
you
know.
like 7 or even less than that? I'm just saying 7 is like for me is where I define a game as just good. 7 is good and that's it.
Seven, yeah, that's probably fair to say it was a seven. It
Okay,
was good, but I didn't think it was spectacular. But there
got
was a
it.
couple games like that for me, like Bioshock or whatever. I'm just like, good, but what was the hype? I just don't understand. And I never played Monster Hunter World, but
I
um,
love it.
I would be curious to see like if it like I know it sometimes takes a bunch of dudes to go in there and fight them because they're so
It
massive.
takes so long playing
Yeah.
solo sometimes, so yeah.
Oh, it's even solo. Just but it usually not required, but I guess
It's not
advised to
required.
go
You can
in.
absolutely do it, but
Yeah.
yeah,
See,
I'll be
it'd be interesting though.
I'll be playing Monster Hunter World on multiplayer Wednesdays with Erasmus, Brambles,
very
and
nice.
Invisible after
Oh,
Borderlands
sick.
3 is done. So that'll be a Wednesday thing coming up.
Hell yeah, dude. How long is that game? Like, how many Wednesdays is that
I,
gonna take?
I no
I mean,
idea.
technically you can never beat it, but I played the base game and the DLC for about 80 hours before I felt like I've seen everything. But then they added more updates, so I could go back to it again and see things I haven't seen yet.
We're also probably going to have mods on the game to make grinding a little faster.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
Okay.
so that way, it's not.
A bit more enjoyable.
Yeah, and more streamable.
Oh, that's true. Okay. Yeah, I'd just be curious to see like how what elements you could take from those games though to put into like a new Colossi like to make it so like you're still getting that feeling of tackling big dudes, but at the same time you got a bit more stuff to do that's just I don't know makes it a bit more well-rounded rather than just the
Hmm.
boss rush element or something. Like you can have the boss rush where it's like the main thing to do is just to go get the bosses. That's how you progress. But it'd be interesting to like how can you pull in elements from like a Metroidvania where like you go even like the concept of like you get presented a new colossi, right? You go in there and you tackle them, but you don't have something, the element, the capability, the tool or whatever, and you actually get rejected. It's like, no, I need to go find something else and come back to this colossi later.
That'd be neat. I
Yeah,
would like that.
it's like okay, but then you at least learn. You're like, okay, there's something else out there that I'm missing because I cannot do this guy yet or something. It'd just be
Yeah.
that kind of element would be kind of cool too in a colossi like, but. I don't know. I think there's room in that genre, and I'd like to see that genre grow. But
I have an idea for a Colossi like game. So
Okay. Yeah. What's up?
it's
Want to hear
you,
it?
you fight Colossi and then you take an element from the Colossi, kind of like in Mega Man,
Okay. I like Mega Man a
ooh,
lot. So you got me.
and
I'm
then
interested.
gotcha.
the end game is like you're building your own Colossi, which you'll control in the end fight, and you can
I would
choose
play that.
how it's built by
Ooh,
the different upgrades, or you can switch the upgrades mid fight based on the class that you've already killed. and there's some secret colossi that you can utilize to to do that too.
I would very much like that because one, Mega Man style power stealing, I like that. But two, I used to like the big monster games where you're a big guy, you fight another big guy. I know it's a bit different because
Yeah.
in the Colossal, like one of the main things is you're small, you fight a big guy. But as long as it's mostly that, then like you said at the end, you get a big guy. I think that's cool.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the emphasis being on the small versus big, but then I mean, like in
Yes.
the end, um, in the end of Shadow of the Colossus, spoilers if you haven't played it, you turn into Dorman, right? And you start slaying dudes left and right as a big guy. So like, I
That was
mean,
cool.
yeah,
I forgot
yeah.
about that.
Yeah, so ultimately, it's not remixing it too much, but it is in a way, like
Hmm.
because, yeah. So I think that'd be cool.
I would love to see that, man. You should pitch the idea to somebody. Although the gaming industry, that's a whole other topic we could do a podcast of. I don't know. That
Yeah,
seems to be like in a rough state right now. Everyone's losing jobs left and right. But
it seems we're in a topic renaissance, folks. We
Yeah.
might have some more streams this year in 2024. It is pretty scary out there right now, as the tech industries, which all seem to be like swelling over the last couple of years with tech on the rise, is they're hitting that they've gotten to the top of the atmosphere and that balloon's starting to go
Yep.
back down.
it's AI, dude. Maybe.
I think it's some AI. I think it's also or that overhiring during COVID,
Mhm.
but
Yeah,
I
for
don't know
sure.
enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um. So I guess let's talk about the elephant in the room. No, let me talk about puzzles real quick before we get
Yeah, because
into
I still
to
didn't know this game
Colossi.
even had any.
So, the game had a mechanic around fire, which I actually thought, aside from the campfires burning out in 30 seconds, that was bullshit. Um, so you can light there was totems all over the map with those gaping mouths. You probably know what I'm talking about. They had wings at the top. Um,
Honestly, I don't even know if I looked.
so they looked like bearded totem poles with
If
wings
I
at the
saw them, I
top.
would know it, but I really was just beelining it to the boss.
I think
Yeah,
I might have
so
found one of those.
anytime you saw totems with open mouths, those were lightable for fires. You could if you lit
Okay.
a campfire, you could light an arrow and shoot it in and it would light up. There was sometimes groupings of those where you'd unlock like a grouping of four, you'd unlock a totem that way. There
So
was
you had to burn a
also,
campfire to light the arrow, then to light that.
yeah, in some cases, but
That
once
is
you lit
bullshit.
the totem stayed lit and then you could light off the totem usually.
Okay.
Okay.
Um But the other side of it is, in the caves, there was a lot of interesting uh, fire puzzles where you'd like interact with water switches and fire, and there was a whole like thing in there. And sometimes they got you actual items because there was treasure maps in the game that led you to these caves, so that you could find these items. Like better costumes that had either better defense or better defense against the elements, which was really great.
Yep.
I didn't have to eat as much, didn't have to worry about health as much because of that. But and then you could upgrade those and stuff. But yeah, ultimately, I thought that was well done if you interacted with it. I really enjoyed those puzzles. There was a flying puzzle. There was a wind puzzle where you interacted with fire, wind, and water. There was a whole bunch of different things. But
Okay.
I
Wow.
thought that those puzzles, while fun, really needed to be in the main game too. Like they interacted with wind in one specific area. They interacted with fire in one specific boss, and I don't think they ever interacted with water other than in the puzzles, right? Water switches. So,
Yeah.
like, I thought that, and like that and this is starting to get into the boss. Oh, we got a raid coming in from Lil Mighty.
Oh
Yo.
shit! What's up?
Welcome, Lil Mighty. How are you? Welcome at Raiders. Hope you're all well. We're talking Pray for the Gods, a game that we all played this year as a challenge to each other as part of the podcast. And we're kind of reacting to uh, that game. So, yeah.
See, I would agree with you with what you just said. That I think it goes back to like design, I guess, on like what do you want to the game to be and how the feel of it and the level design, like what obstacles you have to get to the boss. And there was like usually like a small little puzzle, but nothing like what you described. I didn't find any of those puzzles because I was more like Kirby and just beelining it. I did a little bit of
Let's
exploration.
go.
I did a little bit of exploration and try out the crafting. I was like, let me try the crafting, let me try this. But ultimately, it just like when it all fell flat and it didn't really like add anything to me because I even like I could tell like I upgraded a couple pieces of armor and I was like, okay, that's gonna help me or whatever. But when I was playing on normal difficulty and when you go like below the threshold of your health, it will regen or whatever. I'm like, I don't really need any of that stuff. But like to your point, like you said that those puzzles they sound from what you described awesome.
Yeah, they were
Why not
pretty
make
good.
those a requirement, like, or at least point you in them, make them a bit more apparent? Like, I understand the open exploration and rewarding the player and finding things like, hey, you went out and you explored and you found these things, good for you, and you get rewarded with all these cool features, you know. But
Or
like,
at least
ultimately,
have,
like,
at least as Tequila said, have at least like a light puzzle before the boss to get in that teaches a mechanic.
yeah,
Yeah, something.
yeah, something, or like kind of like, how many times does Zelda do that, where it's like you got to get through the whole temple, which is a string of upon string, and they're like stringing all these puzzles together, and then you get to reward with a boss fight. It's like you could probably have, I don't know, put a little bit more of that in front of them rather than just like just straight sprint over there as fast as you can, and then you're in the arena kind of thing.
I think at the end of the day, they were trying to have a balance, right? The game was specifically to fight these dudes, right?
Yeah,
Right.
And so they tried to keep that mechanic, and then they added other elements that they found they were wanting in Shadow of the Colossus, and they added in a like hunting down those lizards was super annoying because those lizards just crawled everywhere.
That's what those lizards. Okay.
But like the totems
stupid
were
lizards.
didn't do that. And then the you could see the journal entries from miles away and kind of go to them, so that was nice. But at the end of the day, yeah, it felt like the game had them, but in the case of both of you, you didn't find them or interact with them, so it's like it didn't. Um, I also thought that the magic flower things, I wished that they were part of the whole game instead of just the last two bosses or the last area.
Yeah, it was an interesting mechanic. I kind of
I
liked it.
liked it. I wish the drift was a little bit
The
less.
gaming was wild. The
Yeah,
It
gaming was
was.
it
insane.
was kicking. It was kicking like
Tap
yeah,
tap up and you're like, whoa,
Yeah,
dude.
dude.
yeah.
Oh my god. I'm glad it slowed down time, or I don't know if I would have beaten some of those bosses. I would have been like losing my mind.
I was almost like I would tap it and let go and just kind of like randomly kind of fire off in the middle of me like doing a
Yeah.
spin, and it was like I most of the time hit, I think it was like 80%, but I was like, I'm glad those are locking on or something because
Yeah.
I'm just winging this.
Yeah, you did a good job launching those. I was watching your playthrough because I missed sections of it getting ready for work. That's the problem with when you stream. So
Yeah.
sometimes I backwatch. And I was watching you fight the last one and having some trouble, but you were throwing those orbs pretty well. You were just like you grab onto the orb and just chuck it in the right direction. I think maybe releasing it quick allowed you to have like that aim a little bit better than having that drift take hold.
I think
So
so, yeah, because it felt like I was just fighting, like peeing into the wind at that point. I was like, let me just do this quickly and see what happens.
Yeah.
so
So, quick question:
yeah.
Yeah.
favorite colossi in those games? Yeah, in both
In
games
this
actually, in both games.
let's keep it the pray for the gods because I think we've talked
Uh,
about that for
Okay,
Shadow.
okay.
But we can maybe compare to our favorite.
Honestly, it was the dude that tried the most problems with the Yeti guy who tries to eat you. He gave me the least jank, and he was just fun for me. He was
He
like,
was honestly, he like design wise or whatever. He was my favorite too, even though
I
he was
liked him.
absolutely just doing me in. I
Yeah,
liked him though.
he was really doing it to you. He was nice to me. I liked him.
But he even had that like jank where I think I hit him on the head or something else, and he was like having like a laser light show on.
Yeah.
I was like, what's happening to you?
I didn't
But I
like
don't know.
him.
I liked him the best. He just seemed he was fun. I liked the thing that he was like destroying the elements, but you had to keep climbing those like little
Mhm.
ruins to get to him and stuff. And he actually ate you, which was
hmm
He
awesome.
was
I was like,
cool.
whoa.
That
So I don't know, he was
those
my
there were some
favorite.
cool elements there. The climbing mechanic was actually not the intended way to get on him. That was just a bonus way. The intended way is to have him walk into the deep snow and have him stomp, and then
Wait,
he gets his
what?
foot stuck. There's a a journal entry saying that the snow gets deep, and it kind of relays it that way through a journal
I
entry.
didn't know that.
Hmm.
Interesting. 'Cause
Yeah, I had no idea.
I think I was like the original way I saw a hair on his leg, and I was like, okay,
Yep.
he's gonna stomp, and then he would stomp, and you just have to like roll out of that or whatever.
Right.
And I was like, okay, now grab on it. But it was all, like I think I tried it 3 times, and all of a sudden he's like stomped, and he like lifted his leg up really
Right.
fast. I was like, well, and then I saw ruins, and I was like, let me just fly onto him.
Yeah.
So I didn't even think about like any other way because that way presented itself as a solution, and I was like, well, I feel like sometimes I can be like a one-track mind where if I find a solution that at least worked, even if it's a broken ass way and it only works like 50% of the time, I get stuck on that where I'm like, nope, that was the way to do it. I got to rinse repeat that rather
It's
than
the
try to
way,
find like
dude.
yeah. So I found that and I just hung on to it.
He also would smash the ground with his fist, and then you could jump on his arm too. Um, and that's where he'd try and grab you off his shoulder.
I did that sometimes for sure,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, I didn't like him as much as I liked some of the others. Um, I think just because he gave me a little bit more trouble. I did like
okay.
the elements of it. I'm trying to think of what my favorite would be. Um, I liked all the bosses because of their different designs, and that they were
Mm.
clearly different and purposefully different than the ones in Shadow of the Colossus. I really did appreciate that. Um, I
I
think
agree with that.
I think my least favorite probably was the flower, the first boss.
That boss sucked.
Um, but
The
my
lifelike
the very
worm
beginning
boss
one?
thing
yeah,
Wait, worm ball. Hold on.
that shoots lasers at you, and Aiden was like, "Oh yeah,
in
Dad,
the
you
in
gotta
the
go sit on
lake.
this to raise the thing
Oh,
up."
yeah. That yeah.
I liked. I'm trying to review. So I really liked the Sky Dragon. I liked that he had the blast, the ice, so that he could do the things. But I think my favorite, and this is probably a controversial answer, was the flying one, the one with the flapping wings. Because I learned that there's alternate ways to get on it. So, and I remember in the
Yeah, I
journal.
didn't do that right apparently.
Oh,
Not,
you
not
so
the
you did it
not
in
the
the
arrow.
way. Yeah, so you and I did it with the arrow, where you lit the arrow, and when he was doing this mega breath, you shoot the fire into his mouth, and he explodes, and then stuns him, and you get on. That's
Yeah.
one way to do it. What Kirby did was there's two statues with extended hands on both ends of the map. You
Yeah,
can use a
well, that's what
fan to
swept
get
me
up
in.
there.
It was just there. I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna jump
Yeah,
onto this dude.
you can use a
I
fan to
didn't
get
think I
up
was
to
gonna make it.
those, and then you can fly onto him from those hands. And actually, I do remember a journal entry that mentions that that's what people did, but the journal entry also mentions that that's a suboptimal way, and then the way to do it is to
It's so
shoot it with
fast. You
fire.
just jump on him and you're up there.
So I liked the flying boss, and that you shot it down and everything. The flapping did take some time to kill him in the end, but like I
Yeah.
liked that there was different elements where you had to go on the different parts of the body. You needed to get on him a couple times in order to get onto the different parts. Um, and it also introduced the chest mechanic to me, that there's one on the chest, which I did oh, actually, this is something to say too. So something that's unique about this game is that you could play the bosses out of order.
That is cool.
And
I didn't know that.
I did pretty much none of the bosses in order except for 1 and 2. And
Really?
of course the last boss, which spawns after the first
Yeah,
7.
you gotta do it.
So the boar was my last boss. I when it got to 3, I was like, I'm gonna explore. I don't want to do any more bosses until I've explored a bunch.
Mhm.
And I explored and wandered into several other boss rooms. So I was just like, I'll just beat this boss and see what happens. And then I just was like, I'm not letting the game tell me where to go. I'm gonna do my own thing. So I eventually ran out of bosses and had to do the third one.
I'm curious. Does that take away from the game at all? Like, if you had went in there and you had found that there was nothing in that room, and you just explored it, would that have been better or worse?
I preferred to have it where I had the option to
Do it out of
um,
order.
do it out of order.
Okay.
So like in Shadow of the Colossus, it was empty, right? Until
Right.
it lit up. I kind of like that the environment is what it is, and it's not dependent on you, um, like Shadow of the Colossus is. Um, But I also think that it needed to be that in this game because the map is so much smaller. It looks like it's going to be huge, and then it's actually only this sliver of islands. And both of you probably didn't collect the maps, so you don't know
Nope.
how big the map was.
Nope.
But yeah, it wasn't very big.
I got a couple pieces and I was like, by the time we had to get to the end boss, I was like, well, I never finished that, but whatever. I don't need it.
Yeah.
You just had to follow the big shiny light.
Yeah, that was my first goal after I beat the worm bosses. Let's find the rest of the map pieces, and so I did.
Okay. Yeah, Worm Boss is probably my least favorite. Although I do appreciate it being in the game
It
because
was definitely unique.
yeah, every single boss in that game felt very unique. More so, and I would say I felt like every boss's uniqueness was more so than every boss's uniqueness in Shadow, in my opinion.
Oh man.
I mean, there were some bosses in Shadow that were similar to each other, like the cat and the dog, were similar
Yes.
size.
Everyone else was different.
I mean, some of the walkers they looked the same but had different mechanics to interact with them.
True.
For sure. Yeah.
But okay, you also have to consider this game had fucking 7 bosses versus that's less
Right,
than
exactly.
half of
Yeah.
Shadow of the Colossus' 16.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm gonna
ultimately,
make a
I would have
2 boss game,
preferred
and
to
one's gonna be a
have.
fucking fish, and one's gonna be a bird. Oh, they're so fucking different, bro.
They're 100%
No one could be
different
more
though. They're 100% different.
Um. Yeah. So like, ultimately it had less bosses and I wanted more, but I actually also was fine with the length of the game being what it was. I think Shadow, we were left wanting more because it was so unique as a mechanic and because there wasn't really anything but the bosses, so we wanted more in that way. In this one, it was supposed to be intentionally shorter, so worms in the sky too, actually. All worms. Yeah. So, go ahead, Kirby.
Nothing, man.
No,
No,
what do
I
you
feel like
think
you're
of
a bit salty.
what do you think of the
I am something.
bosses?
I just played through Shadow of the Colossus again, like I
Yeah.
don't know, beat like a week ago or something. And yes, the cat and the dog are definitely the most similar, and some of the walkers look the same. But you, dude, every single boss, yeah, I won't lie. Every single boss in Pray for the Gods, whatever, had they look different and they had a different mechanic. They were like 2 flying bosses, but how you tackled them were different, and that is
Yeah.
totally true. And I liked it. But in Shadow of the Colossus, besides the cat and the dog, which more or less were fought the same, every boss, even if some looked the same, like oh, there's worms everywhere, worms in my belly, I got a tapeworm. Everyone looks, every boss felt different to fight, and are we getting the gameplay comparisons now or no? Because
Yeah,
like
let's
if
do
I
it.
go too deep, I'm not coming back out.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Because for me, I'm taking a business back here. The biggest word to describe "Pray for the Gods" was either obnoxious or tedious, or both. If you can combo those together, Germans like to have words for everything. Charles, is there a word for obnoxious and tedious at the same time in German? Because
Oh,
that's the word I want to use. I want that one.
I'll
But
have to look it up.
if they have one, that's it. Because here's the thing: there is waiting in Shadow of the Colossus. I'm not gonna lie, and there is, but the waiting in that game is, in my opinion, so much less annoying. Because, and you talked about this a bit, Trell, was that in Pray for the Gods, the ding dong bells aren't always obvious where they are, and you pretty much have to be already dinging it before it tells you where it is. You don't
Yeah.
even know where the hell it's gonna be.
It's the same, but isn't it in Shadow of the Colossus too, where like you don't get the
They
seal
have a
glowing
faint
until you're close?
blue glow from the ground.
Okay.
And you can shine your sword at that motherfucker to
Oh,
see
right.
where on his yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And that helps.
Oh, I forgot
So
about that,
even though
yeah.
there's waiting in Shadow of the Colossus, it's mostly waiting for the boss to do whatever it needs to do for you to get up on it. And I'm okay with that because once I get on it, I know where to go, and that's important to me. And I also just enjoyed, and this is completely subjective. Okay, it's all subjective, but this is more subjective. I feel like because I enjoyed the boss designs and the world more, I didn't mind waiting around or solving the puzzles. I enjoyed the puzzles in Shadow of the Colossus more as well. For example, I guess I'll call it a horse. The horse boss, we have to like go underground and it looks for you and you run out and around its back. I really enjoy that more than
Yeah.
some of the puzzle mechanics in Pray for the Gods. And so I went on a tangent here. Ultimately, um, both games have unique bosses. I will admit, even though I was initially salty, I'm reflecting on it more. Shadow of the Colossus does have more similarities, but that's countered, in my opinion, by it having more bosses. And so at some point, you're going to run into that.
Yeah.
But overall, the waiting in Pray for the Gods was so fucking horrendous that it dragged down the uniqueness of the bosses for me.
So
And
you
that
like
was very tough.
You like quantity over quality, so you like Dark Souls 2 better. Okay,
No,
got it.
I did not say that. I did not say that. Don't do that to me. Don't put Dark Souls 2 in my mouth. I always prefer quality over quantity, but I don't think that Pray for the Gods even had quality over it, and that's just because I didn't enjoy the mechanics as much or the waiting as much in that game. And there's also artificial waiting because the game janks you and you climb into something instead of onto it, and then have to do it all again. And I'm like, oh man.
Yeah, I think I mean, so waiting in a video game is always going to happen in like Dark Souls, anything. There's always an element of waiting. I think what the game does best is like how it makes you forget that, or
Well, because in Dark Souls, sorry if I can interject super quick. In Dark Souls, when you're waiting, it's not often that you're just waiting for the boss to like do a thing. Like normally, you're trying to fight for your fucking life before you get an opening. And in Shadow of the Colossus and Perfect Gods, both of these, when you are waiting, it's unlikely that you're gonna die to the boss. You're kind of just waiting
right.
for him to do the fucking move so you can get on
Yep.
top of him. So, but anyway, sorry, keep going.
No, absolutely that, and that's maybe just like an element. If there was the subgenre of Colossi like were to take off, that'd
Yeah,
be something I would like to see like get more refined. Is like let's not have so much of a waiting element because that honestly is a bit of a crusher to me.
agreed.
I felt that in Shadow, and that was probably be a detractor from that game. I
I get it.
I liked Shadow, I liked Prey, but like both those games suffered from the waiting element. Definitely,
They
it was
did.
way more apparent in Prey than in for Shadow.
And
100%.
there's a few reasons for that too. One, waiting is deadly in Prey because of the environment, right? It's cold. So
I don't
the
remember
longer you
I don't think
wait,
I ever died because of environmental efforts or things.
You
so
Like
might have
it
died
was just
once to that.
inconvenience. I was like, oh,
it's not
okay.
necessarily dying, but like when you're low health, your stamina seems to go faster. Um,
Yeah,
so
Yeah,
that's not great, right? And if you're at really low health and you fall off the colossi, then you could
oh my
die, right?
god.
So
I'd rather die in real life when I fall off the Colossus.
yeah.
oh,
Like,
right.
dude,
I know you're like, just kill me now, just smite me.
I don't want to be back on the ground.
I think the only point that I had trouble finding was the seventh boss, where one of his arms wasn't really apparent that he had a point on it, but that's because I didn't realize you could break those gauntlets at first. I did it
Yep.
on the one side, but not the other.
Because some of them were glowing blue to be broken, and
Right.
then some of them just were not. So I
Well, and he
agree.
could break his own stuff by the laser light
Yeah, but
show,
those
which
little
is how
laser
I did the
beams. Or,
one, but I never thought to do it on the other until
But
I was
Wombat, the
like,
armor is
oh,
brittle.
yeah, the
no,
armor is
oh my
brittle.
god.
Power of the earth. So I do see where you're coming from. And then there was some like, for example, with the boar, I didn't know how to like get the one on his chest, and I realized, oh, he needs to be laying down for that. But I've already broken all the mirrors that are glowing, so how is he going to get back on the ground? And then I realized that, oh, if I stand on the point, even though the mirror is broken, he'll still charge me. So okay, great. But
Yeah,
it felt more like that shouldn't break, if that's the case, to telegraph more that you can still do that thing, because it took me a while
yeah,
to figure that out.
exactly. I
Um,
suffered from that too.
so yeah, I think um, I'm fine with how they did it, but yeah, they could have made them glow a little bit more. You could kind of see those circles from the ground in some cases, but when they hid them under things, that was a little bit worse. And there were some areas where you just didn't see on the boss very often until you were climbing on them. Like for example, the worm, you couldn't see. So yeah, there's a lot of elements there. But I think the big thing with, and this is kind of talking about Tequil's comment with the last boss. Sometimes it was
Mm,
you just had to be looking in the right place to know where to go next. So like for example, the whole lead up to that final area of the boss, you were like hitting the lights, and then it would harden lava in a path, and then you'd
yep.
follow that path. That happened on that final area of the boss too. But Trell was looking the wrong way, so when he was looking one way, the
Oh my God,
lava hardened
yes.
behind him, and he had no idea where to go because of
Dude, I had
that.
issues with that too. That was tough for me.
Um, Whereas I saw it and knew immediately to go down and do it. I had not as much trouble on that boss. I did come off a couple times
Hmm.
um, when I was down at the bottom, but that was mainly because I was trying to drift from one area to the next instead. Um,
I I felt like it was like leading me like further down to get to the head of the boss, and I was like, okay, something
yeah,
must have popped up, and
I started
let's
with
just
the
keep
head and
going.
worked my way back. So I took it as
Yeah.
like just like the dragon,
Oh,
because I knew if there's wind, I didn't want to be fighting up to the head. I wanted to be fighting back. So when I dropped off and went back to the head, that's when I could do the final thing. So yeah, I get it. I saw what happened, and I thought maybe there could have been a cutscene, a quick cutscene, like in
Sure.
Zelda, where
Yeah.
like that thing happens and they kind of show that, and then it goes back to your point of view. That would have solved that problem.
that would
So
have been
I think
lovely.
I think a lot of the concepts were interesting, just not refined in this game. And they had a long
Yeah.
early access process. I saw what early access looked like at the beginning versus now, and I am quite impressed at how far they've come from the original game in terms
Oh,
of
really?
look. But some of that early stuff kind of still sticks around a little bit. So yeah, it's interesting.
No, it's like it's just polishes like that
Yeah,
too can really make a game. Because like I feel like that whole end experience. You were supposed to end on that final big one on his head or whatever, and I didn't.
Yep.
I think I was way back on the tail by the sphincter or something. So it
Me
was like
too.
it was glorious. But like just a little cutscene or something like that would have went a long ways. Just kind of like because I feel like at that point you've already traversed the entire mountain. You got up on top of them, and it's like now I just kind of wanted to like ding 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 3 times on whatever the things are there, and let me just have that kind of more cinematic, climatic, whatever experience. Give it to me now, but that I felt like that was a little robbed because yeah, like obviously I was not looking at the right spots. I just kept thinking I was like, okay, hit this, and I got to keep progressing forward because I'm sure like whatever I got to hit is by the head of this stupid thing, but.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think, and then you maybe like what developers they get a little blind to that too. Like when they're like, oh, it's obvious that the target's right back there, so they're not thinking about it. They already know that target's back there, so they're not thinking like, do we gotta lead people to that or something like that, or they don't can account for Trelly dumb, and then like that
yeah.
I'm just not gonna be looking for things like that. You always got to account for Trelly dumb.
You gotta account for that. But
Oh
then
yeah.
some use these crazy ass brute force strategies and out of the box strats, and you can't account for that. That's crazy. But yeah.
That's
So do
great.
we want to talk about boss times before we go?
Yes.
Where's my
Which I'll post mine now. I wish I would have screenshot it better, but it's good enough. It's funny how, like, dude, the fucking
dude?
thrall wrecked my shit.
All right, looks like I beat Kirby's time on Legendary for the first boss.
I didn't even play on Legendary.
Oh
GG's.
man.
You play on
What do
Legendary, Wombat?
Yeah,
For the first one, it
I
says
beat,
legendary.
yeah, I
Okay.
beat all of it on normal, but then I started playing through it again on Legendary to get that
Oh, I got you.
achievement.
Okay, okay.
Which, by the way, the Yeti boss on Legendary fucking sucks. Just gotta say,
Oh,
died
I
so many
bet.
times. You're like one hit, so and you can die to the elements very easily if you're low health. So yeah, it's not great. Um, Trell, what about yours? Do you have yours?
Pulling it up right now. Is it stats page?
It's stats. You gotta be in the game and then go to stats, yeah.
Oh,
Let
here we go.
me.
Yeah.
So
I should
nobody
take a
else
picture of
can
my
see
one totems
this.
collected. Oh well.
So I'll kind of once Troll gets it up, I'll kind of go through each time for everybody. Since I can't kind of put these up on the screen really well. Like
I
I could
got
do
you.
this, but like that's not really helpful. I can do this.
Yeah.
Um,
There we go. This in here.
that's true. Devs get blinded when they know where things are. Yeah, playtesting is really. I mean, yeah, devs. I will playtest any game you throw at me, and I'll be honest, give constructive feedback. Let me know. I'm available for hire. Um,
Right?
I'm helping playtest slash dev a game that my buddy Friend Toast is making with his friend Baba called uh, Rune. Oh gosh, what is it?
Rune sword. RuneScape. It's
It's not
Rune
RuneScape.
Souls.
Root
I,
Souls.
it's here. Let me. I want to make sure I'm plugging this well. So give me a second.
Shadow of the Rune.
Oh, and
Yes.
Shadow of the Rune. It's called
Break
Rune
the Rune.
Song, and it's to be announced. It's on Steam. Definitely take a look at it. It's a
Oh,
2D
so it is. Look at it
platformer.
go.
It's pretty cool, and yeah, I've been helping
Nice.
helping playtest that some. So
How's that going?
it's good. I really like the game. It's definitely up our alley. So maybe someday we can all play it. All right. So for the first boss, Kirby and I beat it in sub 4 minutes, and Trell it took him 8 minutes.
It'd be like that sometimes.
Womp womp.
Yeah. All
It's all
right.
right.
So that's the Satyr. That's the first boss. Second boss, I did in 11 minutes. That's the Devourer. So Kirby, you did that in 7 minutes. GG. And
Thank you.
Trell did it in 9 minutes. So I was the slowest on the Devourer. Interesting. That was the worm boss, right? Yeah. The boar for me was 13 minutes. For Kirby, it was 14 minutes. And for Trell, it was 16 minutes. So that was my last boss. It makes sense why I did that faster.
Sure.
And I'm rounding times, folks. It's definitely more than 13 exactly or whatnot. But like mine was 1346. Dreki, whatever that means. Dreki was the fourth boss. That's the dragon, right? The flying dragon.
Yeah, the flying serpent dude.
Okay, I did that in 14 minutes, almost flat. Kirby did it in 15 minutes. I like that there's an hour count.
If you're
Oh my
if you're
God.
really in there, man. If
Oh,
you're
damn. Trell did it in 24 minutes. So
Yeah, well,
almost double my time.
that was a slow one for me.
Yeah, 10 minutes slower than me. Interesting. All right, Yeti. That's the boss I like the least, personally. 16 minutes for me. 7 minutes for Kirby, so that makes sense. And
yeah, that boss
15,
gave me no issues. He was nice to me.
God, that one
15 for
changed
Trell.
my life.
So yeah, it took me longer to do the Yeti than Trell, so I lost on that one. Krogan was the flying one, right? Yeah, it must have been. Yeah,
Oh, yes, yeah.
the
Okay.
the one with the bat wings.
Yes, that's
Yep.
that one.
So I did that one in 27 minutes. Damn. 15 minutes for Kirby and 16 minutes for Trell. I think for me, I kept running around and breaking boxes and stuff and
Yeah.
like kind of exploring the area. So that might be part of it. But yeah,
Dude,
interesting.
this next boss fucked my shit up.
So Thrall, I remember taking a really long time for me to play. I just kept dying. So that's why I have a defeat time of 10 minutes because I knew what to do exactly and accomplished it in the last run.
Okay, fair.
But Kirby had 28 minutes. I didn't die to any other boss, I think, except maybe the boar once because I got charged by him and died. Or no, I got stomped on him by his hoof. In terms of Thrall, Kirby had 28 minutes for his playtime,
Let's go.
and
Dude,
Trell
I
had
got fucking
22.
wrecked. GG's.
So
Beat Kirby on one. Let's go.
and then it doesn't give us a time for the final boss for whatever reason.
Yeah,
Probably because
that's
it's a
fine.
multi-stage.
I think mine was like an hour and a half. I'm not okay, not really, but it was
Mine was
about
probably like
Thrall
10 minutes or
times
so.
forever.
Why does mine say defeated Lid?
Oh, I didn't take a screenshot of mine. What, and Charles just says normal. Yeah, I wish I screenshot mine. Yeah, what is lid?
I don't know.
What the fuck?
Damn, Charles,
Is
you
that
chopped down two
legendary,
whole
maybe?
trees? Calm down. You chopped down two
fucking
whole
trees, bro.
trees.
I chopped down
Easy.
20
You did
trees.
20?
Yeah, because
How many did you do, Kirby?
trees you can
I
chop.
take a screenshot. I don't think I did any, to be honest. I have to reinstall it.
Oh, first of all, 20 trees was an achievement, but also with wood,
Oh.
you could make the wood into arrows. You can make grapple hooks. You can make weapons, and you can make fire. So there was a crafting element too, and I always was full up on arrows because of that. I also needed trees to light
Nice.
fires so I could do the fire puzzles, right? So, Trell, there was a cave that you went into where you saw 3 statues, and there was a treasure chest in there, but you couldn't figure out how to get to it. Did you ever figure that out?
No, I
Okay.
abandoned that and went to the. I forgot all about that thing. I was like, I think I spent like a good like 5 minutes. I was like, I don't know how to do this. All right, I'm out.
So do
Just
you
left.
know how the two statues had their eyes lit with fire, but the
Yep.
middle one didn't?
You just had to light the fire and light and
You had
throw everything
to
in
you
there.
had to light the eyes. You could either light the campfires in the eyes, like just get in the campfire and then light a campfire, or you could
Oh
use
yeah.
an arrow to shoot both. So
See, yeah, like I don't think there was ever really a teaching moment
there
of like
wasn't.
lighting
They
fire.
didn't like I just literally discovered it because in
Yeah.
close to the starting area at the base of the pillars, up top on the left there was a forever fire in a totem, and it kind of taught you that mechanic, but I didn't find that till later. So I ended up going back to other areas and lighting things that I didn't know I could light before. And then I was able to figure out the puzzles. So like I kept those puzzles in mind, and like I guess I don't have the item yet, and then I'd come back. But then I figured out I did have the item. It was just I didn't know the mechanic. So that was definitely something to fix
I
too.
know, I know, I learned that mechanic accidentally because I think I lit a fire and then I was getting attacked by enemies, so I tried to shoot him with a, or maybe I was hunting or something, and I like was too close to the bonfire and it lit it, and I was like, I didn't know that was a thing, and
Yeah,
then but I never went back to reuse it. I was like,
right.
whatever, just keep pushing forward.
Yeah, we use it in the flying fight too, but it
Yep.
again doesn't really telegraph it because it looks like it's a special fire, right? So, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, all in all, what is our ratings for the game? I guess.
5.5.
That's
It's
rough.
so fucking
Wait,
mid.
wait. You
That's
said that it was
so
6 with the
rough.
final boss when you last
Yeah,
talked to me.
then I
Then you
was
thought
thinking about
about
it more
it.
after that. I changed it again. It's five and a
Ha.
half. No,
So my
it is
prediction was
rough.
correct for you then.
Yeah, it was correct. Because yes, the bosses are unique and cool, but the world is fucking boring. There's no reason to go out and explore and do anything besides fight the bosses. The bosses have too much waiting. It's too janky. All there are good points, but it's brought down by all those to the point where it's pretty much a completely average game where I didn't hate playing it, but I didn't have fun playing it. It's so average.
It is not so average. It's got elements that are better than Shadow. Like
No,
it's
it doesn't.
so
Okay, the grappling hook, and that's it.
the grappling hook, the bosses are better,
I
and then
swear to
like
fucking God, you're
it has
lying.
all the crafting elements, dude.
You're just
Come on.
trolling. I can't even let this get to me right now. It is the most average game I can think of, to be honest. I don't think I can think of a more average game right now.
That's so rough. I would give it a 7. I would give it
Oh my God!
it was a good game, a good experience. I don't know if I would replay it, but it was a 7, I think, through and through. And I would definitely. Would you play a sequel, Kirby?
Uh, if I looked at it and it looked like they addressed some of my concerns, yes, I'm not gonna ban a sequel. Like a game has to be like a 4 or lower for me to never want to play the sequel. There is
Right.
enough there that I think they could fix some of the jankiness. Even if they only fix the jankiness, I could bump it up to like a 6.5 even. So it
I
wasn't
thought
the
you
kind of
liked the
jank
janky.
not the kind of jank. I can't. I don't know how I can say that when I played fucking Death Trap Dungeon. It was not, man. I was not liking the jank in this game. I'll say that much.
All right.
It was very, very average.
Charles, what was your rating? You said a 7?
A 7. I would give it a 7. It
Okay.
it had a lot that was detracted from it and a lot that would bug me. And I'm sure like in the heat of the moment I'd be like, this game's a freaking 2, like when it's like sitting there doing it to me. And the waiting was very obnoxious. Shadow definitely gave a lot more a hidden element to that waiting thing, but it's there in Shadow as well. And compared to like other genre type games, like I like that you don't have to wait in other things. In these colossi, like if we're going to call it that, there's
Yes.
tons of waiting, and that sucks. And in general, I think that would always be a detractor for the point value. But if I'm trying to like overall on the world that it did and the fun that I had and the physics of like grapple hook and dinging the dongs and whatever, it was overall a pretty enjoyable experience of a 7. I understand what you say when you say mid. Yeah,
Fucking mid.
but I would say it's a 7. I think it's an okay
Okay.
game.
All right. So for me, I gave it a 7.5.
Okay,
So
look at that,
first of
Kirby.
all, first of all, I didn't experience the same levels of jank as both of you in terms of climbing. I did have some issues with getting over like a small ledge, and I'm like, okay, this needs to be fixed. This definitely brings it down at least a point. But um, I interacted with a lot more of the collectibles and the environment and the puzzles more, so that's why it gets the extra 0.5. Um, I think that it was fun. And I'm glad that we played it. I can see why Kirby didn't enjoy it. I can see those elements, but I also chose to interact with the game a different way. He went straight to one boss to the next, whereas I had fun with certain other mechanics and things. But I also like to collect. I like to explore things like that. So I mean, that's why it's subjective, right?
Right.
Um, I didn't get janked inside the goat's head. Yeah, I didn't. That was fun to watch. um, and Kibito was actually with me the whole time. So Kibito is also so Trell play. So it'd be interesting
Dude,
to see what Kibito's thoughts were on the different play styles. I know he was making comments on it a little bit.
dude, the jank was so bad sometimes. To your point, Kirby, it was much cleaner of a
Oh
game
man.
in Shadow than in this one. And,
Which, to be fair, I expect they had much more experience. That Blue Point is obviously phenomenal and had a
you know,
much bigger budget,
and
but
to be fair, like I never played the originals. Maybe the remake on
true.
PS4 was a lot cleaner or something like that.
Yeah.
But like just watching even videos of Shadow where like the players like traversing the colossi and just able to kind of grab and let go and re-grab and stuff like that,
Yep.
much cleaner. It just seems I'm like watching those videos on YouTube and I'm like, wow, that just seems like much more polished. But like the fact that like I would get flung around, go into the colossi sometimes, and I couldn't move. I couldn't get out, and I thought the
Right.
game broke. And all of a sudden it would fling me again. All of a sudden it would fling me out of itself. I was like, it fixed itself. Yes, let's go. And
It's
it
not
was
a
just
bug;
like,
it's
all
a
right.
feature. Yay!
Oh, dude, I know. But feature fixed, closed ticket. Oh God, that was scary though. That was the element. That was the element of scary that you didn't get in Shadow,
You
Kirby.
were right near the
That
end.
was actually
Fuck,
that was
you're
actually
right.
something that added to the point value. Come
The
on.
fear factor.
Is the
Will
game
be
gonna
able to be
break?
the
I don't know.
yeah.
There was also some puzzles, by the way, where you like made offerings, where you'd find like you'd have to hunt animals and offer meat to get a collectible. That was kind of cool
I didn't
too.
know that.
Yeah,
It's like bringing apples to the shrines in
yeah,
Legend of
very
Zelda.
much like that. Very, but with meat instead. Yeah,
So I do have an interesting question. What do you prefer, stabbing the colossi or dinging the dong?
stabbing.
Stabbing is just cooler. Even I know they're mechanically the same thing, but stabbing is just cooler.
I would agree, especially when you see like that blood coming out of the colossi, where it's just spewing.
Yes.
You're like, whoa.
Yeah,
The dinging the dong thing, I feel like they went that route because they were like, we can't do a stabbing, we just can't. I,
We
fe-
got to
I
do
feel like
something like that.
I feel like they felt that way, in my opinion.
yeah.
Yes.
So here's an observation I had. In Shadow Colossus, you stab the big enemies with a sword, but there's no other enemies to fight with your sword. So it's literally
Right,
just the sword for the bosses. In Pray for the Gods, you have a sword, but you never use it for the bosses.
right.
You use it for everything else. Isn't that
Well,
weird?
there's no guarantee that you have a sword, though, right? Like it could be just whatever weapon you have.
I mean, you can always, if as long as you have wood, which is in every chest almost, you can make a weapon. So you'll always have a weapon unless you don't use crafting at all, like Trell, or
Yeah.
Kirby, I guess.
But I guess there's no like on Shadow, there was a guarantee that you're gonna have a sword, but there's
Correct.
a potential that you
Yeah,
could go up
that's
there
fair.
and like not have a sword but have an axe or something like
Right,
that. So it's
right.
like they had to put in something that's like, well, you're just gonna grab. Well,
Yeah.
I guess that also fits into like the coming of age thing. And a lot of people have done this already. It's almost like uh the the dinging dong thing makes it more of like a mechanical like test dummy element where they're like, here's how you go kill it, and we can reset this whole creature for the next person that comes of age or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. It
But
stuns
now I'm
them.
probably
Yeah.
stretching way too hard to make that work. But I think they're like, we can't do a stabbing element. We got to be something different. And
Yeah.
it's probably what it came down to.
Oh, imagine if you also needed a specific hand weapon for each colossi. Oh, that'd be interesting. Hmm.
Oh, that'd be cool. Oh, that would be cool.
That could
Interesting.
be neat if
I
they
mean,
behave differently. I would like that to see that.
that would be kind of going in tandem with the Mega Man thing idea. Maybe when you get an ability from that colossi, you can use it for other colossi too,
I do
like
that.
like a handheld ability. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, we need to
And
have
just
more
like,
Mega Man inspired games. Like
I
Mega
love
Man
Mega Man
as
so much.
like I think is um a genre that a lot of people don't interact with, but it has a really cool concept. You get
One's
this
coming
dude's
out in like
ability.
4 days.
Oh yeah, interesting.
A 3D or a 2D?
2D Berserk Boy.
Okay. Berserk.
But obviously I don't know about this game, but when you said that, I'm like, oh yeah, this is coming out soon. I very much enjoy Mega Man style games. Another really good one that I played earlier this year. I know we're slightly off topic, and I won't make this too long. It's called Gravity Circuit. It's like Mega Man with more of a melee focused combat. But other than that, you got the 8 robot dudes you got to go fight. You get powers from them. It's very good.
Using boss abilities is cool. Yeah. And you just have to see, and what I really like about using boss ability mechanic is that you have to make your bosses interesting, because otherwise
True.
there's not going to be a mechanic that you're going to be able to get. So
Yep.
I like that it forces, creativity to make it. So sometimes it's weird, right? But like
Yeah.
it's good. Um, Axiom Verge had a little bit of that where you'd get mechanics
It did.
that bosses had and things like that. So that's cool too.
How was that game? What was your guys' ratings for that game?
At least an 8. I haven't really thought
I'm
about
gonna
it.
look at mine again. Hold on.
All right.
Yeah, I liked it a lot.
I want to say it was like a 7.5 or something. So maybe you looked
Alright.
a bit more me than Wombat.
My opinions are usually pretty polarizing. I'm either I really like it, or it's right in the middle, or I don't like it at
Oh,
all.
I'll give it an 8. Never mind.
Ah,
Yeah.
cool.
Kirby, you have to ask all these extra information. So how much did you pay for it?
I don't know fuck much I pay for this anymore. Who knows? It's got an 8
That's
though.
important because I don't know whether your 8 means. Is 8 like you got it
Hold
for
on,
free,
man.
or
Let
was
me
it?
fucking go in here. The
And was
score
it?
is irrelevant to the price.
Was
The
it your?
recommendation is relevant.
Was it your time of the month when you graded this? Because I want to know how crappy you were.
Yes.
Was?
That's important.
Okay.
Okay, you say this shit, but the other games I'm playing at the same time can influence the score. Because if all the other games are really good and the other game's mid, like Pray for the Gods could have easily been a 6 if I wasn't playing so many other good games at the time. But it got fucked. Sorry.
I
That's
try
how it goes.
What
this
if you were
year.
playing Dark Souls 2 at the same time you were playing that game?
Then it may have even been a 6 or a 6.5 if my other games weren't. All the other games I'm playing are like 8.5s or 9s right now, and that's just how it goes sometimes. So
That's how it goes.
Okay, so Kirby's score was 5.5, Trail's was 7, and mine was 7.5 for scoring. Welcome in, Z. Sorry about that miscommunication. Z thought we were at 7 p.m.
Oh,
Z, can you believe these two gave it above a 7? Yeah, thank you. 6 is reasonable.
Yeah, so we've got a nice spread here from Kirby to me, right?
To be
We
fair,
got
Z agrees with me. Z and I agree on a
5.5,
lot
6,
of
7, and
mechanics in
7.5.
games, so it doesn't surprise me. But
Yeah, and I mean, also the way I interacted with it made it more subjective for
yes,
me. I
true.
would have made it a lot lower if it was just what I did. If I did what you did, Kirby? So
Mhm.
yeah,
That's a tragedy. It deserves it. It's fucking mid.
absolutely brutal.
downright tragedy.
Also, I guess
What a
one last
sin.
thing to talk about, because I know we're getting to time, right, Kirby?
Yeah.
Is this was a small development team. It was a very small development team, and they built this
Yep.
with a Kickstarter. I think it was 3 people, kind of similar
Wow, no way.
to Hollow Knight. So I actually friended them on Steam, and
Wait, the
they
Hall Knight people or the Pray for Gods people?
pray for the gods.
Oh,
Well,
never mind then.
You know the Hollow Knight people don't exist anymore. They're just in.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, you didn't ask what the
they're
fuck they're
just
doing.
legends. Yeah. So yeah, it's a small developer. Want to give them some love, and maybe that also affected my score too. They're not like a big company creating a game where you have the expectation of I'm paying this much money for this game. It took this long to make. I expect this level, so maybe
Yeah.
I'm a little bit more forgiving on some of the mechanics based on it being a small team too. But I mean, we've also seen what small teams are capable of. But sometimes it doesn't translate. I mean, for what Hollow Knight is amazing, but it is a 2D platformer. Coding and creating a 3D game with all the mechanics that they had in Pray for the Gods, I can see where there could be challenges with a 3-person team, right? So, but I also don't know enough about game development in terms of 3D
Same.
to really have more of an opinion than that. I just have a general impression that it was probably harder to accomplish for a team of 3.
Dude, it absolutely is way harder to accommodate for all that jank and all that wait time, you got to
Mhm.
really plan that out, like
Yeah.
numerous sprints and stuff to have all that wait time in the game, right, Kirby?
Yeah, dude, you know how agile goes. You got to plan it for the quarter. You got to do the planning.
Oh my God, I hope they
You
have
got to
planning in
come.
that small team. Oh my
So,
God.
anything else before we close out for today that anybody wants to talk about?
I don't think so.
I
But
think we pretty much covered it
that was
all.
good.
Yeah,
I would like us to do another comparison of another game again because I thought this was pretty fun.
All
I
right.
agree.
I'm open
Do
to
you want
suggestions.
do you want to do
Don't
it
give me some
before the
mid-ass
new
game next
year,
time,
or do you
but
want to make this a yearly
Mid-ass
thing?
game, wow.
but yeah, if anyone, including me, I'll think too. If any of us have suggestions on games we either already own or low cost that we're all interested in, I'd be happy to do this again. That was fun.
So,
Sort of like
do
a
we
video
want to
game
do
book
this a
club.
yearly thing, like where we do it once a year, or do you want to do something before next
I mean,
year?
if we find a game, I'm not going to say, oh, we should wait a year just because. If we find a game, I'm down to play the game in an ample amount of time or in a reasonable amount of time and then do it. I don't think we have to wait a year. I think it depends
I
on
mean,
when we find a game. For me.
Kirby and I are Kirby's already done. I'm about to do Death Trap Dungeon. If we just need one more person
Oh,
to do Death
Wombat
Trap
owns that game too.
Dungeon,
Wombat owns that game too. I fucking hate
I
that game.
mean,
I'll think about it. I was gonna suggest Daikatana actually. So,
I'm playing that game anyway.
what
So
game is
that game,
this?
it's a game Wombat recommended. It's apparently already in my library, and all the fucking reviews are trash, and even the positive reviews are like, "This game you don't play for fun. You only play it to see how it can possibly get any worse." So give me a second. I'm gonna post it in chat. This game's lined up. That game's lined up after I get some Michigan and disaster report out of the way.
You don't play for fun. You play because you hate yourself.
Yeah, so I'm gonna do that. But I'm also down for Death Trap Dungeon. I have so much shit I want to say about that game. Oh my god, absolute
I
garbage.
mean, so I am in retro year, right? So that's very retro. It's a very retro game. That's Rep
God.
Dungeon. So maybe let me get through. I want to make sure that my backlog is at least even before I start
No,
adding new
that's totally
games.
fair.
Um, but I mean, if I own it, then that would actually help my
You
count.
do. I don't know why
So
you do, but you do.
Daikatana, similar to games that you've played, Doom, Apex Legends. I don't know. I mean, that's pretty good stuff right there, you
Dude,
know?
they are. Daikatana has. Oh no, okay. I thought it had worse Steam reviews than Death Trap, but it doesn't. They're just both mixed. Okay. All right, I'm excited for that though. But yeah, okay. I mean, hell, I
yeah,
would I would talk about either of those two games once I finish them. But I'm also open to actual game. Okay.
yeah, we
No,
could also
enjoyable
like look
games
for
too.
and chat if you have any suggestions or ideas for games that all three of us should play and review. Let us know. We'll definitely want to have one that we haven't played before, or at least not played this year, since Kirby's already played Death Trap Dungeon. But ultimately, yeah, we're game for doing this again. Maybe you'll even have another stream before the next year. We're at podcast 49, so the next
Let's go,
podcast, whatever
man.
it will be, would be 50. So that'll be a neat milestone. That'd be fun. Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth.
I would rather just go punch myself in the dick numerous times than play Final Fantasy. Oh my God.
Well, but it's not even time-based strategy anymore, right?
It's all real. I mean, there's still a lot of RPG mechanics and a lot of talking and a lot of slow starts. But yes, it is real time combat.
Okay.
Dude, just like, I don't know. Final Fantasy genre. There's just something about it. I just am so turned off by that whole thing. I would just be so miserable playing that game. You thought Persona 5 I bitched a lot? I would be unstoppable in my bitching on Final Fantasy. It'd be so bad.
Sebastro would be single players because we'd be playing these individually and streaming them. So, or in Kirby's case, maybe not streaming them.
Oh, I mean, it depends on the game. I'm glad not stream Pray for the Gods because I was not in a good mood because I was just so. Part of it's because I
It
was
was
also
janky
expecting it
enough.
to be better. It was obviously that was not a worse game than Death Trap Dungeon, but it wasn't even close to being worse than that. But I was expecting shit from Death Trap Dungeon. I was expecting to like Pray for the Gods, and because I didn't, I was more sour playing it. But I'll stream it if it fits my criteria.
Right, right. And I think we should at least give Trell a couple of months to, get through the games that he's already got on his backlog because I know he's
Of
kind of
course.
struggling right now. He's on the struggle bus.
Struggling.
I'm just wait. I'm actually letting you guys get a little bit of like some room, and I'm gonna catch up. So it's all good. It's all good.
Oh
I mean,
man. Okay. All right.
why do we need room? We've already done all of our stuff for the year.
I just want you guys to feel good about yourselves, and I'm just gonna come in and like
Okay.
sweep
That's
up.
so considerate. Thank you.
I still got Witness and Death
Yeah,
Trap Dungeon. I gotta knock those
don't
out.
sleep on either of those. They're definitely going to be romps. So you're going to have some
Man.
time for those.
I'll knock them out like starting in December. I'll just knock them out real
Yeah,
quick.
you'll never finish in time, and then we're gonna have to figure out a way to punish you. So you'll
You're
probably
gonna get double punished.
Double punish.
By the way, I have an idea for punishment this year if one of us doesn't finish our games.
But we already did. So you mean Trell?
Yeah, I mean, try.
I have an idea how to punish Trell.
I would, yeah. So if Trell doesn't finish his 2 games, then we don't have to pick a new game for him. We can pick from his existing backlog.
Okay, but then he'd have to tell us his backlog. He'll never agree to that.
Oh yeah, actually, what's on my backlog right now is Elden Ring 2. And,
Oh, shit.
No, I mean like
what
the existing games list that you own. So
yeah,
like
you know,
that
the
means
exclusive rights to the
He's
beta.
got Elden Ring 2. He's got Silk Song
Right,
on
right.
there.
Yep.
so I mean because like think about that. Like there's games that he's bought to protect himself from getting them gifted to him for Christmas, right?
That's true.
So that would open it up, and that's an incentive for you, Trell, to get those games
What do I
done,
got?
right?
What I got in here, that's so bad. Oh, there's some bad ones in there.
There's some bad ones in there, yeah.
There's some really bad ones. Why do I
I'm
own
gonna
this?
fucking gift him a game, and then now that's in his backlog, I'm gonna use that. That's a really good. Okay, nice. I
What
can
is
gift him whatever the
that?
fuck I want, and then it's officially in the backlog, and I know it's in there, and I'm
That's
just gonna
true.
pick it.
Yeah.
You're gonna have like the whole. I'm gonna get gifted the entire Final Fantasy franchise here in a second.
I'm gonna gift you the
Persona.
Pixel remaster, which is 1 through 6. The Pixel ones. I'm gonna give you those.
Wait, that's a thing?
Yes, look up the Pixel. I mean, you don't have to look it up, but yes,
No, I don't want to look it up.
The Final Fantasy Pixel remasters, Final Fantasy 1 through 6 on Steam.
Nice.
God, zombie. Yeah, zombie. That's enough.
Oh my God, zombie!
Motivation right
You're
there.
right to kill
Vampire.
zombie.
God, dude, that game was absolute cancer.
So good.
All right. Well, folks, I'm interested to see what you think of Pray for the Gods. So if you haven't picked it up yet, or if you're looking for a
Don't.
game to
I'm
try
just
out,
kidding. Just make sure get it on sale. For the love of God, please just get it on sale.
support small
Don't pay more
businesses.
than like $5 for
yeah,
this game.
Go, get it on sale, try it out, see what you like, and let us know what you
It's
think.
30. Sorry.
Yeah, I think I bought it on sale for like 10, something like that. So
Same. I got it on sale.
Okay.
yeah, and sales happen quite often. So,
Mhm.
folks, thanks for being here. Glad you enjoyed, and we'll see you in the next one. We'll let you know when that is, if that is, and why it is in the near future. Bye. Be safe, be well, be excellent.
TL.